Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, and as always, I'm joined by my friend and yours, the heart and soul of Omega Metroid himself, Doominal Crossing. Doom, how are you today, my friend?
Pretty good. I feel like you're definitely the heart and soul of the Omega Metroid. You're kind of the founder. You know, you've spearheaded so many of the projects. But I appreciate the compliment. Nonetheless, thank you very much.
How about this? I could be like the head and shoulders. I think you're the heart and soul, though.
Okay, sure. Why not? We form the Omega Metroid Megazord.
Yes.
I'll take it. I know you've been having really stressful week with like Link's surgery and whatnot. So hope it sounds like despite the stress, things are going about as well as they can though. So Link's definitely in my thoughts. Hope he gets a smooth and speedy recovery very soon.
For anybody that doesn't know, my dog just had knee surgery, so it's about a 3-month recovery. He's doing great. So but this is only day one of the recovery. So we'll keep Link in your thoughts, okay? And keep Mom and Dad in your thoughts too.
But yeah, in terms of my personal life, I've been doing a little bit of gaming, and now normal people at about this time of the year, they're probably playing Silk Song, they're probably playing Hades 2, that hotness, or Ghost of Yotei comes out in like a day or two after this drops, so they're probably looking forward to playing that. But that ain't what I'm playing right now. Oh no! You know what I'm playing? I'm playing this little game called Pac-Man World 2 Repack, baby. Aside from the Metroid Prime games, probably like my most anticipated remaster of all time.
Okay.
I have wanted this game to be remastered for so long, and I kind of gave up hope until about 3 years ago, where the first Pac-Man World in a Nintendo Partner Showcase got announced. It was getting remastered. I was like, okay, this isn't quite what I wanted, but this is closer than I ever thought we got. Maybe there's a chance. And then, by golly, in the last Partner Showcase, they did it, man. They announced Repack 2. I'm having so much fun, and the ambition of this remaster is way, way further out than the first. So the first one, got some visual upgrades, some minor quality of life improvements, some small bonus unlockables, but other than that, pretty straightforward. Repack 2 has so much additional content that's packed in, a bunch of cut bosses as well that were re-added, alternate phases that are added onto the boss. So like the bosses are pretty quick in the first game. There's like 2, sometimes even 3 phases added on to like every single boss fight now. There's also a ton of bonus gameplay content that I don't want to spoil, but I am just having so much fun with this really fun game that was a huge part of my childhood.
Awesome.
And I would definitely recommend, if you're a 3D platformer fan, it kind of plays like the classic Crash Bandicoot games, where it's like very it's very point A to point B, very very linear, but really tight level design in that linearity, and also just a wonderful soundtrack that I really love. So
there you go. You're on quite the Pac-Man journey this year.
Yeah, Shadow Labyrinth and now a Repack. But yeah, I actually had to pause Shadow Labyrinth because I'm like, man, I gotta check out Repack 2 again. So
of course,
that's been a lot of fun. It's only like $30 right now for the standard edition. I think the deluxe edition is $40. But I think a really solid price for especially again for all that additional content that they packed in here.
Well, there you go. I haven't played in the better part of a week because I went to Seattle in between recordings, actually. So I went to Seattle to see Linkin Park, which was like an incredible show. Oh my God, we sung and like thrashed our asses off. It was so awesome. So yeah, Linkin Park was incredible, and actually we saw Allison as well, so we hung out with her for a little bit. But so I didn't play my Switch at all for the last couple days, and obviously yesterday with like surgery, I didn't have a chance either. So I fired it up for like a minute this morning, and I'm in Act 3 of Silksong, and this is just like such an incredible game. Like it really, we'll do an episode on Silksong sometime, but like this game has literally just like raised the bar for 2D Metroidvanias. I think like going forward, including like Metroid games. It really is, and so like I'm kind of getting towards the end of the game, but I'm taking it very slowly as well. I'm kind of doing like every little side thing that I can. I think I'm about 50 hours into the game right now, and just trying to grind out the last couple of bosses. Act 3 is like insane for everybody that thought that Silksong was difficult before. Like, wait till you get to Act 3, man, because that is just egregious, how difficult Act 3 is. But yeah, I am desperately trying to finish that, because I do want to get to Hades 2 before, Age of Imprisonment, and then Metroid Prime 4, and the stacked lineup that we have for the rest of the year. But I will say, like, all of those games, like, they have to be, like, S-tier games to beat Silksong for Game of the Year. This game is something else.
Yeah, I still have a bunch of other games over the summer that I still need to get around to. So obviously, I need to pick up Shadow Labyrinth again, and then there's also RoboCop, which I want to play through, the standalone expansion of my 2023 Game of the Year. So I really want to get around to that. And then I didn't get much of an opportunity to play the Tony Hawk 3+4 remakes. I want to get back on that and really do some runs on that as well. Yeah, on top of like all the other like insane stuff that's still has yet to come out this year.
Yeah.
And then of course Hades 2 just dropped, which I really want to play as well, because that game also looks, and from the reviews also sounds absolutely incredible as well.
Yes. Yeah. I think I think like this is the strongest gambit of games to end off a year that I can remember in quite some time. So yeah, the very too many good games coming on here. Okay, well, so last week we did a frame-by-frame trailer breakdown of the new Metroid Prime 4 trailer, and this week we are going to be answering all of your fan questions. We asked you on Discord, we asked you on Blue Sky, and we're going to get to all those questions. I do have a few things, though, that I want to say really quickly before we get to that. And the first is a little bit of a plug here, but here we go. Episode number 4 of Middle Earth, the podcast, has just dropped over on patreon.com/spnet. It's me, it's Al, it's Corey. We're talking about our favorite moments from the first age of Middle Earth, which, fun fact, Middle Earth wasn't even a thing in the first age of the world. It was actually a completely different continent called Blariant. So yeah, there you go. We talk about some of the cool characters, like the really big bad guy who makes Sauron looks like a little lapdog. Some of the cool like prophecies and stuff like that. The heroic dog of the first age. Very important character, Huon the Hound. So lots of cool stuff that we talk about in this episode, and we're gonna be recording new episodes here pretty soon as well. So a whole slew of new content coming at you in October. So go ahead, check that out. That's for the Ultra tier over on patreon.com/spnet. And let us know if there's any topics that you want to see covered. We kind of have like a roadmap, but we're certainly open to, just doing even a show like this, just taking fan questions about Lord of the Rings. So let us know if that is something that you'd like. But yeah, for all of the, Lord of the Rings fans out there, we got you a new episode ready for consumption over on patreon.com/spnet. Are you a Lord of the Rings guy, Doom?
I'm a casual Lord of the Rings fan. I wouldn't call myself like a diehard fan. Kind of like the same way I approach Zelda. I consider myself a very casual Zelda fan. Like obviously every game that I play, I get enjoyment out of.
Right.
Some games in particular, like Breath of the Wild and Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, I think are absolute masterpieces.
Yeah.
But in spite of that, I would still consider myself a casual fan. And the same thing with Lord of the Rings. I've only seen those first 3 original movies. I haven't seen any of the Hobbit films, haven't read any of the books or played any of the video games.
Right.
But like, yeah, obviously those 3 films are freaking masterpieces that are insanely relevant in pop culture for a good reason.
You know what? Speaking of Lord of the Rings, one cool thing and pop culture, I went to the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle, and there was a bunch of Lord of the Rings stuff there, like all the weapons and stuff.
Nice.
There was no Metroid stuff in the sci-fi section, but there actually wasn't video game stuff at all there. There was, however, a I don't even know what to call it, like a exhibit, I guess, where you could play like a couple indie games, and so that was kind of cool. Just checking out like some indie games from years past, maybe some that are coming up in the future. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth, the podcast is up for everybody. And while I was at the Museum of Pop Culture, we had some breaking news that Allison and I looked at our phones. We saw an announcement that was made, and we were like, whoa, that seems wild. And that news was that effective the 31st of December, Nintendo of America president Doug Bowser will be retiring, stepping down and vacating his role as Nintendo of America president to be replaced by 20-year executive Devon Pritchard. So this Devon Pritchard is going to be the first female head of Nintendo of America, has been at Nintendo for, like 20 years. She's the head of marketing right now. Seems like an extremely, extremely qualified and fun leader to have there. So I thought we'd just take a moment just talking about, I guess, the legacy of Doug Bowser and Nintendo of America. And I think it's hard not to compare to Reggie Fils-Aimé, right? Like, obviously, like, Reggie was so charismatic and so impactful and really did steer Nintendo through, like, multiple stormy storms over the years. Like, Reggie came in when Nintendo wasn't at its peak. We're talking the GameCube era. Kind of navigated those waters and introduced the DS, oversaw the success of the Wii era, but then immediately saw the disastrous Wii U era, the passing of Satoru Iwata, and then, of course, like, launched the Switch, which is Nintendo's ultimate comeback. So Reggie's legacy is very... It was so strong that I think it was always going to be a challenge for Doug Bowser to really stand out and compare against that. And the other thing, too, is, like, Doug Bowser kind of inherited a Nintendo that was in a much more stable place in terms of both, like, their branding, their finances, everything like that. The really only, I guess, storm that Doug Bowser navigated was the pricing of the Switch 2 and its games, which I think some people would say that left something to be desired. I might just say that, like, I don't know what else he was supposed to do. That was obviously a decision that was set and that was made. I don't know if he had impact in that decision or not. I would guess not, but yeah, Doug Bowser is out of here after only 6 years in the role of Nintendo of America president. What are your thoughts and any, I guess, like, memories or what you think the legacy of Doug Bowser is going to be?
Yeah, so one thing to consider about Doug Bowser too is that, like, he became president of NOA at a much older age than Reggie did. Reggie, he joined the company, like, in his early 40s, whereas Doug Bowser was already in his 50s. He had another decade. And so I think it makes sense as well, cuz I also believe, weirdly enough, I believe Reggie retired a bit earlier too. He was 57 when he retired, if I remember correctly. Doug just turned 60 recently, which is yeah. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but yeah, I think it makes sense in that context when you look at when he became president versus when Reggie became president. That there was Reggie was a lot younger, so it makes sense that he would be in that role for a bit longer. And then also Nintendo as a company has evolved significantly since then as well, where there was a lot more. I mean, Reggie talks about in his book how, a lot of the decisions, like, he was fighting tooth and nail with, like, NCL, Nintendo Japan, on a lot of decisions that the company made. The two biggest ones, arguably, when it came to pack-in games, like, Metroid Prime Hunters first on the DS. That was not something that was supposed to happen, but it was, as well as Wii Sports. Wii
Sports was the big one. Yeah.
Wii Sports in particular, like, I would argue, is the reason that the Wii became the phenomenon it was. And that was only something that happened in the United States, maybe Europe, but it definitely didn't happen in Japan. And that was specifically because of something that Reggie was like adamant and was not backing down from, and that isn't really something. Not to say that like the current, NOA administration doesn't have that spine. I think they do. It's just I think the company is very different today, and I
It's
don't think they would
different.
have those same.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have those even if Reggie was just starting off at NOA today and didn't already have that kind of history and that relationship he built up
Yeah.
with the WADA, I don't think he would have been able to push for similar things. I think if Reggie was in that same position, we would still be looking at Switch 2 Welcome Tour as a $10 extra and not like a pack-in title, for example. And so, obviously, like, Reggie is just kind of like above and beyond just because of how charismatic and forward-facing he was. It really is hard to compare other people because when you Reggie at his core is an executive, but because he's so charismatic, he almost kind of surpasses that, where it's a lot more difficult for other people to do. But at the same
Reggie
time,
was just
I
a
don't
larger
really,
than life character, and
Right,
Reggie also
yeah.
like presented a very public persona as well, which Doug Bowser never really attempted to do. To be fair.
Yeah, and it's hard to say like how much of that was, Doug Bowser's personal choice or how much of that was, just kind of Nintendo's, direction and evolution, during the Switch generation. I think it's probably a little bit of both. But yeah, at the same time, I don't hold like any, harvest or hatred or distaste for like any of the current executives at the same time. It's just I'm kind of indifferent. But yeah, I don't know. I wish Doug Bowser the best. I hope
Yeah.
I hope he's able to enjoy some much needed retirement with his friends and family. And yeah, I mean, yeah,
I would
really
I
have
would
much
say
else to
this, like, I think his tenure is going to be defined as just like the steady piloting of the ship. Like there wasn't much turbulence for him to have to overcome, but that ship was steady, and Nintendo is a a bigger company than arguably it's ever been right now. So yeah, I would like to see Devon Pritchard maybe just be a little bit more kind of like visible than Doug Bowser was. I think like Reggie made a good effort to like be at shows like the Game Awards, for example, which is, I know as like Nintendo fans, we're just kind of like, whatever, like it's the Game Awards, there's never any Nintendo stuff, it's not that important. But like I do feel like you should still be attempting to reach audiences that you don't have, and the Game Awards certainly represents that, or like Summer Games Fest or like whatever, right? I think that Reggie was very good about putting himself in public spots, and I think that like that's what this role almost kind of is a little bit. Like there is going to be an element of you're a public figure when you're in this role, right? So I hope that Devon Pritchard maybe just puts herself out there a little bit more. I loved her introduction picture where she's holding the Pikmin plushie. I think we're in good hands, with the Pikmin fan running the ship. So just, Nintendo Life put out a really great kind of article just detailing the background of Devon Pritchard. She sounds like she's like going to be the smartest person in any room that she walks into. She's got a bachelor degree in biological sciences and a doctorate of law from she's the real deal here. So yeah, very excited to see what she does at the helm. And it's undeniably like a different kind of feel and different look, which I think is really cool for Nintendo. Like I think they could use that, like obviously like Reggie was incredible, but yeah, I guess I would define Doug Bowser's tenure by like waiting to find its next like big president, and he kind of kept the seat warm, he kept the ship going, and hopefully Devon Pritchard is that next big person to take them to even higher heights.
I personally, at least from the outside, I don't expect any like drastic changes. I feel like, from us on the outside, like, Nintendo's North American plan is going to be pretty similar to what we've seen during the Doug Bowser tenure. Internally, we could see some different changes. We might hear some stuff, but at least on the outset, I'm not expecting too crazy of a shakeup. To me, it just feels like a pretty natural transition. If you guys actually want to hear some really good information about this, Kit and Krista, they do a podcast. They were two former Nintendo of America employees. They hosted Nintendo Minute. They have a huge successful podcast, which I'm actually subscribed to their Patreon for, and they actually knew Devon really well while they were working there, and so they did a whole like 30-minute video kind of talking about the recent transition, their experiences with Devon, and kind of what their feelings are about her new position. Which, spoiler alert, they're very happy and excited for her. But yeah, I definitely recommend checking that out if you want to hear like some real inside baseball talk, if you will, from people that have a lot of experience working in the company.
Yeah, I read some of the quotes from their podcast about Devon Pritchard, and very interesting stuff. So I would definitely go and check that out. So congratulations to Doug Bowser, and all the best to Devon Pritchard here as this transition happens on the new year, the 1st of January of 2026, which by that point we will have been playing Metroid Prime 4 for a while. So let's transition. Let's get some of these questions answered. We have, oh my god, we have a lot of questions to get through. Oh dear. Okay,
our Discord in particular was really popular with the Q&A this time. It looks like
it sure was. You know what? To be fair, that trailer generated a lot of buzz. Which, I mean, that's what a trailer is supposed to do. So, all these quote unquote bad trailers. I don't know.
I actually do want to shout out our YouTube comments in particular. There were a lot of people that were really happy last week about how optimistic we were with the trailer. A lot of people were just relieved, like, oh my god, finally somebody is like, actually optimistic and getting hyped over this trailer. Like, so I think there's definitely a yearning in the community for some positivity, and I'm certainly more than happy to bring that.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how you come away from that trailer not optimistic or satisfied, but alas, let's get to it here. We have questions from Discord, we have questions from YouTube, we have questions from Blue Sky. So let's just start off with Blue Sky, and let's go to Ben Tendo. This may be a silly one, but I have to mention a question a friend I know in person asked. Can the motorcycle turn into a ball? Okay, so this seems like kind of sorry, Nintendo, but it seems like kind of a silly question, as he said. But I actually think that there might be something too. Like, can Viola like shift down and go into like morph ball tunnels? I mean, I'm gonna say no. Like that probably doesn't make sense. Because like obviously you could still turn into a morph ball when you're off of Viola. But I don't know. I could certainly see other upgrades that you get for Samus' suit being applicable to Viola. I just don't know about the morph ball.
Obviously, Viola turns into a blast ball, and then you have to combine it with the Federation mechs that are transported there for the final battle, and that's how we defeat Sylux. That's obviously what's going to happen.
There you go. Okay, this is from our pal Joey Ferris. Have you thought about what your gaming content creating life will be like after you finish playing and covering Metroid Prime 4? It's going to be crazy living in a post-4 Prime 4 era. Well, Joey, after Metroid Prime 4 comes out, we are going to make walkthroughs for the game. That'll take probably a while. We are going to be doing a weekly Metroid podcast for a while, so like, things will be weird for sure, like after it comes out. But that's the thing about the grind with these games. Like after Metroid Prime 4 comes out, well, it's on to Metroid 6, and then it's on to Metroid Prime 5, and it's on to Metroid Prime Federation Force 2. Like that's kind of the nature of the game. So and I mean, we'll definitely kind of dissect Metroid Prime 4 after as well, and we'll give it some time, but like just say like how do we feel a month after, 6 months after, a year after, and revisit that, because it will be weird. It'll be weird to see, or to have a point in time where this game is like, we played it, like that reminds me of like when Breath of the Wild came out. It was like so exciting, and then it was out, and it was like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually playing this game that I've been seeing trailers of for like the last 6 years. So it'll be weird.
Yeah, I've talked a lot about it with Metroid Dread, but like it still feels weird to me where it's like, here's this game that I was like daydreaming for like, 2/3 of my life about, where I was like literally, drawing doodles in class about like, what my ideas for, the Metroid Dread could be. What could that be referring to? And then now it's like, oh, I've beaten this game several times, more than my hands can count. I have like I have like the maps memorized, ingrained into my brain. I've beaten these bosses so many times that, like, several of them I can do on my first try without taking a single hit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's one of the it's weird to think about, because on one hand it's like it still shocks me that Metroid Dread is a real game, and yet at the same time it's so normal. And the same thing is going to happen with Prime 4. It already kind of has happened to a degree now that we've like actually seen, gameplay after it's felt so, mythical, for, 8 years now. But yeah, we're going to do what we always do. I don't know how we're going to find content to cover between Prime 4 and the next Metroid game, but
we find a way.
Some way, we always find a way. And yeah, we don't plan on stopping that after Prime 4.
Oh, that's right. Life will find a way. Okay, Mr. Crunchberry asks, do you think there will be any direct connections between Prime 4 and the other Metroid Prime games? Given the events of the previous games, I don't see how elements like Phazon, Dark Samus, or even a second attempt at a Metroid Prime, quote-unquote, could happen. No, I don't think that there will be any connections, nor do I think there should be any connections. This is what we need to understand, everybody, is like, at this point in time, Metroid Prime is the branding. That lets you know that, like, you're playing the first-person adventure game, right? Like, Metroid Prime Federation Force and Metroid Prime Hunters obviously have nothing to do with Phazon or Dark Samus or Metroid Prime. They're just called that because they're first-person adventures. So I don't expect there to be any Phazon or Dark Samus. I would be I guess it depends on how they did it. I would be a little bit disappointed if they brought that back. I think that story's been told. I think it's been told well. I think it's been wrapped up well. And I think we're ready for something new. So yeah, I think at this point, like, don't be too literal with the Metroid Prime branding. It's literally just to let you know this is a first-person adventure.
So I do want to point out this fun theory that I'm not taking too seriously, but there was a theory that, like, Dak and I proposed earlier, back when that second trailer came out, and we found out that, like, the Metroids fuse to creatures and, like, take over them and whatnot. And there's some people pointing out that, like, oh, there's some similar design from the Lemorn into, like, the core of Metroid Prime. And we were wondering, like, hey, I wonder if, like, what would happen if, like, one of these Sylux Metroids fused to a Lemorn? Does that kind of create the Metroid Prime as we know today? That would be pretty interesting. I don't actually think that's what's going to happen. There's just a little fun kind of back and forth that we were having there. Nor am I expecting any, like, really hard connections. Obviously, we've seen, like, some very tidbitty stuff, like in that demo, they mentioned that, like, one of the quantum computers was based off technology from one of the Federation Force planets. So I'm sure
that's right.
Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be, like, very small. Obviously, Sylux is someone who originated in Metroid Prime Hunters, so I'm sure there'll be, like, very small stuff like that are referenced here and there. But I don't think, like, the main storyline is going to directly tie into that overarching Phazon and Dark Samus storyline from from the original Prime trilogy.
I think you'll probably see, like, scans and stuff like that reference the events of like the Prime trilogy for sure. Like, I don't think they'll, like, shy away from saying it, but I would be surprised if it tied in directly. Although I do remember that theory. We talked about it the week after, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm on board. Like, if they can do that and make it work, like, why not? I think the possibilities are still, like, pretty open right now. So, like, I'm all for it if they can find a way to make that work. Okay, let's go over to Discord here. This is from Dreaded. Now that Viola has been confirmed and seems integral to a sizable portion of the game, is an endgame suit off the table? If not, could Samus getting a new suit mean she's no longer connected to the bike?
I don't think that means that at all.
Yeah, I don't think that means that at all. I think, like, if anything, that probably just increases your chances of upgrading your suit and upgrading the bike.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, if anything, like, in if you look at the regular Metroid games, Power, Varia, Gravity, those all have completely different upgrades, but they don't cancel each other out. I don't see why a new suit upgrade would have to cancel out the Viola suit. So
Yeah.
yeah, quite the opposite. I don't think there's I absolutely think that there's going to be at least one more suit that you get in the game. I'd be shocked if this is the only one.
Yeah.
But that too, yeah, I highly doubt that a new suit would cancel out Viola at all.
Yep. Okay. Let's move on. We have like tons of questions from Griff, so I'm gonna pick 3 of them, and then we'll come back to the rest of them if we have time. And they're all 3 centered on Sylux, and they're quick ones here, so we can answer them. Number 1. Since Sylux is in Metroid Prime 4, what are the chances that Sylux will reacquire the shock coil? I would say decent.
Yeah. It's hard to tell because, you know, the way weapons work, the way weapon acquisition worked in Prime Hunters was a little bit different. You kind of just had all the hunter weapons just kind of randomly scattered about. Whereas in Prime 4, I don't think that's how it's going to be, but I mean, I personally think it would really be really cool to acquire the shock coil. I think that'd be kind of a missed opportunity to not have, you know, HD shock coil with like insane sound design in 2025.
Okay, here's how I think it's gonna go. So number 1, I'm still holding out hope that you can play as Sylux at some point in this game, either in the base game or DLC. I think that'd be so awesome. Number 2, in the last trailer, we saw that Samus clearly has the grapple lasso, which is pretty darn close to the shock coil. I think that you're probably gonna fight either Sylux or like some minion of Sylux and get an ability to turn the grapple lasso into like the shock coil. I think that's probably how they'll do it, rather than just like finding the weapon around, or maybe it is just like a straight up beam. But I think like if I were doing a Samus's percentages, I'd be like pretty darn close to 50% that you probably pick this up.
I'd probably be in like the 30s or 40s. Probably closer to the 30s now that I'm saying it out loud. It's just
okay.
Yeah, I hope that it happens though, and especially if Sylux is playable in this game, 100% the shock coil is going to be usable. 100%.
You have to. Yeah. I couldn't say I'm over 50%, but like I think I'm close. I'm in like the high 40s because I just think it would be cool to do. Like, why not? You know, let's do it. Okay, second question. Do you think Sylux will be a one-off villain and die by the end of Prime 4? What are the chances that Sylux combines with one or more Metroids to get stronger to beat Samus? Seems like what could happen during the final fight with Sylux if he's about to lose and he's a one-off villain. So, if Sylux is a one-off villain, I would be stunned if he did not fuse with the Metroid at the end to create, like, Super Sylux for you to beat. I think that's, like... I put it this way. I think the final boss of this game, whoever it is going to be fused with a Metroid.
Agree.
Yeah.
100%.
I hope it's not Sylux. I could see them having him as a one-off villain and killing him off, but I hope not. Like, I just think, like, man, it'd be so cool if we had, like, other characters in this universe that can, like, stick around and do stuff, and maybe they can get a spin-off game that people actually want to play, and, I don't know. I mean, there's no basis for me to say, like they shouldn't do it. I think that they should keep Sylux alive. That's my hope. But if they will or not, who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to say without playing the game, but like obviously right now, since you know we've been waiting so long for Sylux, it's like no, I don't want him to go after this huge way. I want him to stay. I want him to see him built up even more. But I honestly I could see it go either way. I could see him becoming a one-off villain. I could see him becoming an overlooming threat in like a new Metroid Prime trilogy. So yeah, it's hard to say. I do agree with you though. If he is a one-off, 100% he's combining with the Metroid.
Oh, totally,
absolutely.
Man. Someone is combining with the Metroid at the end battle, okay? And you're gonna be blasting that person. All right, here's the $1 million question, Doom, the one that everybody wants the answer to. Do you think we'll get a large amount of Sylux's backstory in Prime 4, or will a face reveal be the best we get?
No face reveal. No.
Okay, well here's the thing about a face reveal, okay? Who from the Metroid series could feasibly be under that helmet? Like who?
Like here's the thing. A face reveal implies that like, because here's my issue with it. A face reveal implies that like Sylux has to be someone that we already know, and it's like,
Right.
we already know who Sylux is. He's Sylux. That's not the reveal. Who Sylux is under the mask isn't the interesting part to me. The interesting part is what are his motivations, which is what has been teased, up to this point. It's like, hey, Sylux really hates the Federation and Samus by association. That's the information that, like, I'm interested in finding out. I don't care what he looks like behind the mask.
Nobody cared who I was until I put on the mask.
Exactly. I will say, I'm not sure if I'm for this, but I feel like I'd be fine with compromising on this if, like, let's say Sylux gets heavily damaged in battle and, like, his mask gets cracked and you can, like, barely see, like, a little bit of, like, a face, whether it's humanoid or alien or whatever. I think maybe something like that I'd be fine with compromising on, but, like, a straight up helmet comes off reveal, like, I am 100% against that. I hope it doesn't happen.
So I'm not against, like, Sylux taking his helmet off, actually. Like, that doesn't bother me too much, but yeah, you're right. Like, if you take off the helmet, the implication is, like, it should be a kind of a moment where you look and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe it's this person. And, like, legitimately, who in the Metroid series that we know, that we would recognize, could you say, like, to Anthony Higgs? Like, that would be one. Is there anyone else?
Either that, or maybe, like, he takes off maybe his helmet comes off and it reveals, like, this horribly disfigured face after, like, a ton of experimentation. In which case, it's not really meant to be, like, a character reveal, but more just, like, a visual reveal showing kind of a bit more depth about what his motivations might be.
Sure. How about this?
I'm still not really in favor of it, but I'd much rather that than, like, it was me all along, Samus.
Well, like, I think that if you take the helmet off, like, that's the moment you're going for. Is like, it's this person and we recognize it, like, for sure. And I can't think of it. Like, you could do Ian Malkovich, but again, like, if Ian Malkovich takes his helmet off, like, does anybody know what Ian Malkovich looks like? No. And so
off my game. I will power off my game if they actually do that dumb fan theory. I will turn off my game on the spot.
I mean, they could do anything, like, and do it well. I will give them the benefit of the doubt. But, like, the other thing too is, like, my running theory is, like, okay, Sylux is, like, from somewhere, and the Galactic Federation, like, totally obliterated this dude's planet and family or something like that, right? So, like, if it's a new character like that and he's, like, an alien, like, then you don't need the face reveal. You could just tell that backstory and it's totally fine. Like, you don't need to show, like, he could maybe take his helmet off and say, like, this is the scar from what the Federation did to my planet, and that's a powerful moment. But, like, yeah, I think, like, the face reveal that Griff is suggesting here implies that we're supposed to know who's under there. And I just don't think there are any candidates that could satisfy that reveal that you would get if Sylux takes his helmet off. Maybe I'm missing someone, but, like, I mean, did the Chadmiral turn? Like, is he a villain now? Like,
no, the Chadmiral is perfect. He could never.
And so, I mean, like, unfortunately with Metroid, like, that's kind of it. Like, there aren't a lot of supporting characters that you can really look at and say, like, oh wow, it was this person. And you know what, those type of reveals can make sense and they can be impactful, but I don't see it for Sylux.
That's the thing. Like, in certain contexts, they can be like when I think of really effective face reveals, Bucky, the Winter Soldier, that's a fantastic face reveal in my opinion. But, like, that also feels earned. Captain America and Bucky have an entire movie's worth of history where they built up that kind of brotherly friendship together. Everything that I can think of in a Metroid context, it would either be some sort of character from Samus's past we haven't met yet, or some completely irrelevant character from another Metroid story that has nothing to do with what's going on, and it all just feels very cheap and fan fiction-y in that context.
If Sylux takes off his helmet and it's the baby Metroid, I will eat my words here, okay? I'd be like, oh my god, what a reveal! But
the baby Metroid pre-Samus Returns. Because you know what, there's time travel involved, obviously, so that's, there's also that.
Yeah, there you go. You know what? I will say this too, okay? And you're gonna hate this, but I just have to say it. If Sylux turns out to be like a time travel alternate version of Samus, I could live with that. I think that everyone would just crucify that though.
Here's the thing. There is potential in the like off the bat. I hate the pitch, but I do acknowledge there is a way to make that work. But I will say, just as a pitch, I don't like it. So,
I mean, I don't even like it that much, to be honest. But like, again, like that's one of the only other like face reveals I could see being like a when you see it is like if it's Samus, but like kind of like at the end of spoilers for anyone that hasn't seen this movie. Skip ahead 30 seconds. But kind of at the end of like Spider-Verse, like Beyond the Spider-Verse, when you see the alternate version of Miles, right? Like maybe that could work. Maybe that could work.
I mean, to be fair, that was a pretty good reveal in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there is a way to make that work.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go to Harky Man here. Harky Man says, "Do you think you'll be able to modify / upgrade your bike, and will there be bike escape sequences or boss battles?" So yes, and yes, and yes.
Yeah, I was about to say yes on all three of those. Yeah, 100%.
If there is not a motorcycle escape sequence, like what are we doing? Like that, this is made for that. Like,
I will say even the people that were kind of down on the bike in our Discord, pretty much everyone was kind of in unison. Like, okay, I'm not gonna lie though, not sure how I feel about the bike, but if there was like a Halo 3 style kind of Warthog run escape sequence, but with like the bike, that would be hype as hell. And I feel like that you just have to do something like that.
Yeah, and I think like boss battles too, like that makes a ton of sense to do.
I think we're gonna get at least one boss battle on the bike.
Yeah,
probably
totally
more, but at least one boss battle. And absolutely 100%. Like of all these, 100% you're gonna be able to upgrade the bike. I mean, we've already seen like little bits of that in the trailer. You pointed out that there is those additional boost meters that were added in some of the later shots after the reveal as well. So at the very least, we know there's probably going to be like little kind of missile expansion energy tank style upgrades. I'm sure there's going to be some more substantial modifications as well that we can do.
Okay, so next question is the Prime 4 marketing tagline: "The journey to launch begins." Do you think the journey begins and ends with the art book and amiibo, or will the journey involve other surprises, i.e. tie-in media, a dedicated direct, Metroid Prime 2 and 3, or even a Samus Returns Switch release? Okay, well, you're dreaming big and I love it. This is my vision for the journey to launch begins. I think that you'll probably get, I mean, obviously the amiibo and the art book. I think you'll probably get something along the lines of like a Dread Report. And I'm not even saying like you might not get the frequency that the Dread Report got, but like something like 1 or 2 or 3, maybe like here's the story so far, kind of like getting everybody up to speed like on the Metroid Prime 4 website. And I mean, probably another trailer, and I think that's probably it. Like, I think that we shouldn't set our expectations too high. I don't know like what a dedicated Metroid Prime 4 Direct would achieve, to be honest, at this point, that like we haven't seen in the demo or that we haven't seen in the multiple trailers that we've got. I could be wrong. I certainly like there's not a chance. I don't think that there's any Metroid games coming out from between now and December 4th. I'll say that definitively.
Yeah. Personally, Harky, I would put you in charge of the Metroid marketing because I love this proposal. I think that sounds awesome. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be happening. I think the art book and the amiibos are going to be the big highlights before the game comes out. And then, like you said, there's absolutely no shot that we have, even a non-remastered at best, we would have Prime 2 coming to NSO. I feel like that is the closest thing we would have as like a new Metroid game release coming to Switch 2. Even that, I wouldn't really bet money on at this point before Prime 4 comes out.
Yeah.
You'll probably also get some minor things like today there was a Metroid Prime 4 licensed Switch 2 case that went up for pre-order, which of course I made sure that I snagged that for the display. So can't wait to receive that along with the amiibos and the art book coming next month. I will say I've been warming up more to a Metroid Direct. Again, not something that I would bet money on. Not something I would go over 50% on the Samus's percentage meter, but there's been a lot more game specific directs this year than we've typically gotten in the past. Like we got one for Mario Kart, for Donkey Kong. There was I feel like there was another one.
We
that
got
I'm
two
forgetting that
for
we got
the
as well.
frickin' Kirby game coming out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got Air
Ugh.
Ride, and then we got another one coming out. Really, the only major release we haven't gotten a game specific direct for yet is Hyrule Warriors, and that one's also kind of like a third party collaboration as well. But and then obviously the Pokemon games have the Pokemon Presents, so they already kind of get their own like dedicated directs in and of themselves. So again,
just like what do you want to see at this point? You know, like what that one trailer couldn't just do.
I don't need to see anything more at this point. The last trailer that like completely satisfied me. Like I don't need any more info till launch. Obviously, there's a lot of people online who disagree with that, who do want to see more, who do want a bit more context. Again, you and I obviously disagree. Like we're more than happy with what we've gotten. But
here's what they could do and should do is release a demo. Like that's what they should do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. And honestly, there's another question later on that asked that very thing. I'd be surprised if there was not a demo actually, especially like you literally already have a demo that you're shipping around. Just make that demo public. Like,
yeah, I mean, might as well sell people on the game through that incredible opening cutscene because it is incredible.
Yeah, I will say that is really my only critique with the marketing is why on earth are you not shoving that cutscene in as many people's faces as possible? But that's my.
I mean, there's still time. Like, there's probably another trailer coming, and like, it's probably going to be the trailer that everybody has been wanting, like the cinematic style trailer, right? So, like, let's give it some time before we, you know, and we'll talk about this post-mortem as well. Like, once this game comes out, to kind of reflect on Joey's question, like, did the marketing for this game hold up? Did it not? What would have been different? So we'll see.
Harky Man's question, not Joey's.
No, Harky Man was asking at the very beginning, like what we're gonna do, like after Prime 4 has come out. So like we said that we're gonna look back on a couple things about the game, and we're gonna do that as well. So yeah, we'll take it all into account, but yeah, for now, I just don't know if we need a dedicated direct. Maybe we do though. If it helps sell the game to people, I'm all for it. Okay.
I mean, it depends. Like it really depends on how much. Because at this point, I have no idea how much more stuff how many more big things that they're hiding from us at this point.
Yeah,
there could be like even more substantial stuff. I feel like the bike is already pretty substantial in its own right, though. So.
I think that the next thing could be, well, transitioning to the next question, actually. This is from Jew. I hope I said that right. Taking into consideration the open zones. This is a long question, so bear with me. Taking into consideration the open zones and how the motorcycle will be integrated into exploration and traversal of this giant world, how do you guys think progression is going to be handled? 1, multiple choices at a time where Samus can ride Viola to separate areas at a time throughout the game, and progression is therefore more open and unique to each player's experience. 2, linear but with eventual branching paths and a couple of options here and there, but most of the experience is guided with a few exceptions and side quests in between. Or 3, strictly linear from beginning to end, no matter how open the map seems to be. You'll always go from A to B to C to D, similar to Echoes had that Torvus ground, or the temple grounds at the hub of sorts, and you were meant to go to Aegon Waste first, then Torvus, then Sanctuary, and so on, no matter how many times you play the game. What do you guys think it will be? Any predictions? So that's a long question, but a great question. I think you can rule out option 3.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. I think the reason for that, because I think there's a good reason hinting why that might not be, and that's because you specifically start in the forest area and then go to the desert. The desert is clearly like a big hub that's going to connect these areas, but I don't think, because you specifically start in the forest area, which is not that temple grounds, because in Metroid Prime 2, you start in the temple grounds. You start right in the hub world. I think because in Prime 4, you do start, or at least you seemingly start in this forest area after the tutorial. It does feel like that you are meant to retraverse these areas multiple times, as well as the desert. And who knows if that desert is the only hub open zone. I predicted that the ice area, we talked about that last, might be kind of like a little bit of both, where it's like kind of this, also kind of this open area, but also has more of the traditional inside areas as well.
So this is obviously under the assumption that there are multiple of these open areas that we saw. So like a desert, the ice zone, whatever. Which I think is probably a fair assumption to make. I would think, based on Nintendo's recent patterns, that you're probably most likely to take option one, and that you can do any of these areas in whatever order that you want to, would be my guess. Now, how do you kind of work that in with a Metroidvania, with the lock and key system? That's where I could maybe see like pathway number 2. Like you can start off, you have to do the desert area first, but then you can choose to, I'm just going to make up binomes here, but like either the fire or the forest area. And then from there, you could choose the water or the sand or the whatever. Like, so I could see option 2 being on the table, but I think I would lean more towards option 1, where like you can kind of choose your path and like how that is done. That would be my guess, but it would take some tinkering with the established like Metroidvania formula in order to do that. And I don't know exactly what that is so far, other than the tools that you get don't necessarily stop you from exploring an area, but maybe they stop you from exploring it fully, which I guess is pretty Metroidvania. Like there might emerge that there is like a best path to take in order to do this, kind of like when you're playing Breath of the Wild. Like typically I'll do like the Zora and then the Rito and then the fire and then the Gerudo area, right? Because that's kind of the best path with your abilities. So I could see something like that there, but like you still do have the choice to do it however you want to.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be somewhere in between 1 and 2, where
that's probably the
it's
answer.
Not going to be, it's not going to be strictly linear. There are ways to go off, kind of the intended path, but at the same time, there is going to be those Metroidvania roadblocks where it's like, no, you do need, if you want to access this specific area, you're going to need to acquire this first. I do think you're going to get a little, I have this feeling that you're going to get a little bit more freedom than in the previous Metroid Prime trilogy, though, because in the previous Metroid Prime trilogy, even the ones, even in Prime 1, which is kind of the more open one where you are revisiting areas multiple times, unless you're doing unintended glitches, there's really only one way to go, and the only times you can really quote unquote diverge off the path is if you forget to pick up the charge beam, or if you forget to pick up the super missile and have to go back and get those. But that doesn't really count. That doesn't really count there, because you're not really going into a new area that you wouldn't have gone into previously. It's just kind of, it's just forgetting an item and then having to go back to do it for some extra legwork. The way that Prime 4 is being marketed, especially with the bike sections, I do feel like there's going to be a little bit more opportunity, somewhere in line with like the 2D Metroid games, or even like Hollow Knight. There's tons of different paths where you can go on, but you're still being gated by your abilities at the same time. And so that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting, but it's hard to say until we really get our hands on it.
I think that's probably the answer, is like a mix of both, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe we do need a Prime 4 Direct. Okay, Kevin PDZ also has a ton of questions, so we're only going to pick a few and then move on. With the desert area being open zone in Prime 4, do you think there will be a lot of side content to do, such as entering abandoned buildings that have secret underground passageways, getting new upgrades, collecting artifacts, completing side missions or bounties, and maybe even having a boss battle in the desert at some point? I think that is probably a pretty safe yes.
Yeah, side missions, I think there's a lot of stuff hinting to that already, so I'm pretty confident on that. Boss battles, we already talked about that. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the underground of Tears of the Kingdom that was basically completely hidden throughout all the marketing, and was just something that kind of everyone stumbled upon when the game came out. I don't necessarily, I mean, obviously, Prime 4 is probably not open world, so obviously, even if there was something like that, it's not going to be at that same scale. But I almost do wonder, I don't want to speculate too hard on it and then end up disappointed, but I also wouldn't be surprised if there was, a lot more underneath the surface of this desert, pun 100% intended.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I think that there's definitely going to be some places where you can take an elevator down, like kind of like Mass Effect Andromeda actually, which is a very underrated game. But there was a ton of places like that where you just found some random bunker and then the basement was like crazy. So I think and expect that to be the case here. Second
I own
question.
all 4 Mass Effect games on Steam. I need to get around to those eventually.
Oh, dude, those games are so awesome. Mass Effect Andromeda, in particular, was kind of done dirty. If it had released any other time than like the same month as Breath of the Wild, I think people talk about it much more fondly than they do.
I think you're talking about Horizon, not Mass Effect. That came out way before Breath of the Wild.
I don't know. Andromeda came out, I think, in the same year as Breath of the Wild. Someone fact check me, but Horizon.
I'm gonna
Horizon
check
did the
that
same
right
thing.
now.
Okay, well, while you're doing important things like that, let's move on to the next question. Also important. Do you think this is from Kevin PDZ? Do you think Samus can use her psychic abilities to summon, recreate, and/or teleport the bike directly in front of her when it's not present in the area? I don't know about psychic abilities, but I mean, I think the Viola suit like definitely is gonna be. You're gonna be able to summon that bad boy. Like if you've played Breath of the Wild, I expect it to basically work exactly like the Master Cycle Zero.
Mass Effect Andromeda released on March 21st, 2017. What the hell?
I told you.
My sense of time is I thought that came out in like
No, it came out like a couple weeks after Breath of the Wild.
Like I vividly remember the Horizon. I
Horizon definitely got done
Yeah.
dirty twice. I can't wait to see what releases when Horizon 3 comes out. But yeah, like I actually remember like just quick sidebar here, but the developers of Mass Effect Andromeda, one of them in particular was talked about the negative reception to that, and he basically said like it doesn't help coming out within like the same month as Breath of the Wild did, which fair. So yeah,
I thought like, oh my gosh, yeah, my sense of time is just completely ruined.
Okay, what do you think about this psychic ability to summon Viola, Doom?
I think that's been pretty much confirmed already. I think that was part of the that Japanese translation that Shinesparkers did. I believe that's one of the things that the translation mentions. So, which also makes sense to me. I mean, it's the Viola suit, so I would imagine there's a connection between the bike and the suit. So I have to imagine it just seems like a pretty. I'd be shocked if it wasn't summonable already, and that was even before reading that translation.
Okay. Let's move on. This is from our pal Minneapolis King. Speaking of the Master Cycle Zero, what do y'all think about Nintendo's injection of motorcycles across their games? I feel like Breath of the Wild's DLC was them having the idea and wishing for a game that utilized it more than at the very end of the game of Breath of the Wild's DLC and telling Retro to put a motorcycle in Prime 4. But we have Prime 4, Breath of the Wild, Pokemon, Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart. I guess you can ignore that since they've had motorcycles. All have motorcycles added to their gameplay. So I think the root of the question is, what do we think of like the injection of motorcycles into Nintendo games here? I will say this actually. I thought it was much weirder to see the initial trailer where you saw the Master Cycle Zero in Zelda than I thought it was in Metroid. Pokemon, I don't remember riding a motorcycle in Pokemon or Odyssey, to be honest with you.
Wasn't that like Scarlet Violet? There's the Pokemon that you ride that's kind of like a motorcycle.
Oh
Pokemon.
yeah, that's right. I never played those games. Yeah, I mean I think that's fine. It's like a Pokemon, so like that makes sense to me. And like, yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't feel like there's been like a huge injection of motorcycles. Like
Did you remember a motorcycle in Odyssey?
There wasn't a motorcycle, but there's like a little moped that you can drive in New Donk City. But that's like again like kind of like a little bonus feature. It doesn't there's like one moon that you can get where you're running from the T-Rex, where it's kind of chasing you Sonic Adventure 2 style through the alleyway.
Okay,
yeah, it's a really small portion of that game. In terms of like legitimate motorcycles, really this and Breath of the Wild, and I guess maybe Scarlet Violet as well. Those are like really the only major examples minus Mario Kart that I can think of. That being said, I will say I wouldn't be surprised if that Master Cycle was kind of an influence to the motorcycle in Prime 4, because that released in 2017 when this game was in its first original iteration was still being worked on. I wouldn't be surprised if that was kind of an influence for that, and if that was something that was carried over into the retro build. Obviously, I don't know. I don't have any insider info, but with the way that like Nintendo developers communicate with each other, that wouldn't surprise. And especially with Tanabe, who's has a very storied history in the Zelda series as well. I mean, Metroid Prime 2, he's talked about in interviews how Metroid Prime 2's Light and Dark World mechanic was directly inspired by Link to the Past. So I could definitely see that connective tissue being made again.
Yeah, and like I feel like Breath of the Wild just like was a tough game to have a motorcycle in too, because like there really isn't a whole lot of areas except ironically for the Gerudo Desert where you can just rip around on that thing. Like other than that, it's a bunch of different terrain and it was hard to use. So I could see Nintendo wanting to have maybe another go at this idea in a more, I don't know, like a different setting that maybe was built for it. Because I think like Breath of the Wild Hyrule was definitely not built with the intention of zipping around on the Master Cycle Zero, which is incredibly fun in that game, by the way. If anyone is wondering.
Yeah, so, I mean, they didn't re-include it in Tears of the Kingdom. I think for that reason, just because it's kind of like this fun little selling point for the DLC, but like in hindsight, not really adding that much to the game.
To be fair, in Tears of the Kingdom, you could make your own motorcycle and you can make like a million vehicles to trudge around with. So yes. it is fun, everybody. Okay, like it is fun to control these motorcycles. Let's go to our next question. My God, I don't know what this name is, Doom. Do you want to take a stab at this?
M Revistial. So this person's very active in our Discord.
I know you like all the time, but I don't know how to actually pronounce your username. Let us know in Discord so we don't butcher this next time. They ask, do you think we will get armor customization, possibly a vehicle customization?
I don't think so, no.
I would say, okay, first and foremost, the definition of customization here. I would say vehicle is more likely than armor. And I would say customization as in, like, maybe you can, like, put some decals or something on it. I don't think that you're going to customize your armor. And I don't really want to do that either, to be honest.
That's a new word we got to add to the Andy mispronunciations. That's a good one right there.
What?
I think you meant to say decals, not decals.
I've never heard anyone in my entire life say decals. That's a Doom mispronunciation. Okay, let's move on. This doesn't matter.
New Supreme Man. Now that we've
seen wait. What's your answer to the question?
Oh, I already said no. I don't think so.
You don't think we're going to see any decals? Put on.
I will say there has been an increase in like customization in Nintendo's games recently. Mario Odyssey, you can change out the outfits. Breath of the Wild, you have stats tied to like all of Link's different clothing. You can upgrade those clothing. Donkey Kong Bonanza, you can change out DK's clothes and his fur, and even Pauline's clothing as well. So I have noticed that trend. So I will say the possibility is more likely now than it would have in the past. I still don't think that's going to be a thing that happens. I feel like that's something we would have seen by now if it was.
So I had to Google this actually because it is important. There's like a raging debate online on Reddit, like the proper way to pronounce decal. Some people do say decal. Most people looks like they say decal. Like some person says rhymes with feckle. That's a great word.
There's another word spelt similarly that is not pronounced same, but we don't have to get into that.
It could rhyme with. Let's move on.
Yeah.
New Supreme Man. Now that we've seen a few trailers of the game, what are your thoughts on seeing Ridley or the Delano 7? Ooh, hold on a sec. Is that the Delano 7?
That one I don't know. I don't know. So.
It could be anything. Could rhyme with Filano. You know what? I was like so sure that we were gonna get the Delano 7 in this game, and I think we probably still will. But I feel very less certain about it now, unless the Delano 7 got sucked back in time with the Vortex stuff. Because I could see that. Like I could see that happening. That would be an easy explanation to have, but I do feel a little bit less gung-ho about it now. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Somewhat the same, because we haven't really seen any evidence of Samus's ship either, and it looks like the bike might be kind of like, I don't know, I don't know if replacement's the right word, because they have two different functions, but like, the bike is able to traverse long distances that otherwise the ship might have been able to
Yeah.
in like Prime 3 with the landing zones. And so, I mean, we've seen other equipment though. Like we've seen those Federation Force mechs, but I feel like we would have had to see that ship in the opening to set that up for later. And assuming that full opening in the demo is the exact same opening that we get in the final game, I'm also kind of saying probably not. I hope so though, because that'd be really hype.
Yeah.
I think it's even more unlikely that we see Ridley at this point, because he's not in the opening at all. I feel like he would have had to have been present in the opening for us to see him in this unless somehow Viros is connected to like the origin of Ridley, which that's not the vibe that I'm getting at all.
I wouldn't hate that at all if it was connected to the origin of Ridley, actually. And I know that other people probably would hate that, but I am there for that. I think that would be like cool. I don't know. I feel like you just got to find a way to make it work. Like I feel like you have to find a way to get Ridley in here somehow, because like it's been a long time since like you fought Ridley, and I feel like I'm playing a new Metroid Prime game. Like I want to fight Ridley, like
yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like you got to make it work somehow, some way. I don't know what that way is, and I don't know the best way to do it, and I don't know how you do it, but like I think tying it to the origin of Ridley is honestly as likely an explanation as anything else. I don't know.
Very important updates. So I am on the Cambridge dictionary right now, and it looks like both pronunciations of decal and decal are correct. So
well, what do we do now?
Well.
Okay, here's what we do. Okay, you assemble 5 champions, and I'll assemble 5 champions.
So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna have we're gonna have a Smash amiibo named Decal. You're gonna have a Smash amiibo named Decal. They're gonna fight to the death, and the winner is the official pronunciation. That's how it works.
One thing that I always bug Allison for is, so how would you say Majora's Mask? Would you say it just like I said it?
Yeah, Majora's Mask.
So she has this funny quirk where she has to say Majora's Mask, like major, like the word major. And she's explained to me, and I was like, that makes sense. Like Major with an A at the end. I was like, that makes sense, but it just sounds so weird when you hear it. That just made me think of that, which was funny, because she said Majora in person. Well,
even Nintendo pronounces it Majora's Mask. I feel like that's like kind of like that's the final nail right there.
Do you remember when Square, way back in the day when Kingdom Hearts came out, they tried to tell us that the way to say Tidus's name was Tidus from Final Fantasy X?
Yeah, this is way over my head. I don't know.
So any old timers out there,
I will say until you said that, I also assumed it was pronounced Tidus, though. I will say that.
like you know how it's spelt, right? Like Tidus.
Tidus, yeah.
I don't care. You could tell me it's Tidus. There's no way I'm saying that. Okay, it's Tidus. Name him with two e's in there if you really want to do that. Okay, let's get this back on track. Actually, we only have a few questions left, so we didn't get to all of them, but maybe we'll do another question episode here in a couple weeks, and we'll get to any of the others that we missed here. But this is from Sir Viper. What kind of stuff do you want to be able to do on the bike? Sick tricks off ramps, suit abilities like shine sparking, boss fights, jousting with Sylux. Yeah, I mean, like
all of
shine
those.
sparking would be incredible. I think like for sure you're gonna get like the spider ball ability on this bike, and like you're gonna have like the rails and stuff like that, and you're gonna need to like hop on rails and stuff like that, and I think that's gonna be absolutely awesome.
That would be so freaking cool. Now that is an insta-cell pitch right there. I'm just like, yep.
I feel like I can just like see it, walls. Like you're doing like F-Zero like spins and tubes and stuff like that. Like, tell me that doesn't sound absolutely incredible. For all you bike haters out there. Yeah, I think, and yeah, we talked about boss fights. I would expect that the final boss fight. So I think there's two things that you're gonna see. Number one, you're gonna see someone fused with a Metroid, and number two, you're gonna see the bike integrated into this final boss, much like the final boss of Twilight Princess had like the first section where you fight Zelda, and then you were Wolf Link, and then you were on the horseback, which was a big selling point of the game, and then you kind of have your final fight with Ganondorf. I think that there's going to be something akin to that here as well.
Yep, no notes.
Okay, Stalord the Great asks, what returning bosses would you like to see in Prime 4? Ridley?
I mean, yeah, Ridley is, which is funny because like prior to Prime 4, it was like, no, let Ridley have a vacation day off. But now that we got that vacation day for Dread, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm ready to bring Ridley back. I want to see like the first 3D Ridley fight, since Corruption. I think that would be hype. Doesn't look like that's gonna be happening though. So, but yeah, that's definitely the big one. If we're just pulling random bosses out of thin air, this probably has even less likely chance of happening. I think it'd be really cool to have a 3D Diggernaut fight. That's like a 0.1% chance on the Samus's percentage.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one. I mean, I think the answer is like nobody. Like other than Ridley and I guess Sylux technically is a returning boss, but like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like one, it doesn't make sense for anybody really to come, and two, I mean, other than Ridley, there aren't, and like Kraid, like there aren't a ton of returning bosses in the series. Like you have Arachnus, but you have a very specific reason for Arachnus to be reappearing. I think that like you're gonna get like a whole slew of new bosses here. I think the best chance for a returning boss was the prologue actually, which is obviously not a returning boss. So yeah, there you go. Maybe we're wrong.
Yeah. Aside from Sylux, I'm not really expecting anyone. And honestly, not every Metroid game has returning bosses. Metroid Prime 2 does not have a single returning boss. Every single boss is original in that game. So, and I think Prime 4, Sylux aside, will be similar.
Yeah, and I mean, like even like if you take out Ridley, like Prime 1 doesn't have a recurring boss. Technically, I guess like Dark Samus is recurring in Prime 2, but that doesn't count.
That's different. She's introduced in that game.
Lots of Metroid games don't, and so I don't necessarily think that this one needs it either, nor do I think there's any good candidates. I certainly don't want to see any bosses for Metroid Prime Hunters come back, other than Sylux. I will say that for sure. All right.
I think we would be cool, but I don't think that's happening.
Well, let me rephrase. Hunters would be fine, but like the actual bosses from that game, like the
like the
what the hell's the eye tower?
Gotcha.
Yeah, the centrif. Oh,
yeah, God, the Credifig. Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, they could keep that. Okay, let's continue. We're gonna do two more, and then we'll get out of here. And this is from Super Nooper 12. I don't know if anyone's asked it yet, but how much do you think happens between the device going off and Samus showing up in Vuros? A cutscene or two, any gameplay, nothing, and she just shows up with psychic powers? No, she definitely doesn't show up with psychic powers. I think that so I think what'll happen is it's a cutscene, and you go back and you wake up and you're on Vuros, and you have a little tutorial where you walk around and eventually you find the Lemorne Temple, and then you probably get your psychic powers from the Lemorne. That seems to be, I think, a pretty clear pathway to that.
Yep, that seems about right to me.
Maybe Vuros is like Lost, where you just show up and you have all your best abilities immediately. Did you ever watch Lost?
No, I haven't.
Wow.
Where's it streaming? Because that's another one that's on my ever-growing backlog.
Oh, I don't know where it's streaming, man, but like Lost is like such a big commitment for I would say a questionable payoff at the end. Like these are like hour-long 24 episode seasons for like the first like 5 seasons, and it's a commitment, man. Holy moly! But yeah, I can't say it's a bad show though. It's a good show, but the payoff I think is divisive. Okay. Anyways, let's go on to our last question here. This is from our buddy Zach Gio. Hey guys, what is your perfect length for this game? Given that we now know about the bike and its possible impact on the game, given a potentially open space, do you think that this opens the door for the first 20+ hour Metroid game?
I think potentially. Right now, I'm just kind of expecting it in that same realm as like the other Metroid Prime games. Um, but at the same time, like maybe maybe the desert area does like increase the length a little bit. Also, the game has been in development for quite a long time. That also might be obviously game development takes a lot longer nowadays, but that could also potentially point to maybe a bigger a bigger scope than we've seen prior. So yeah, I could see it kind of go either way, really. At the end of the day, I don't really care how long the game is, as long as as long as it's paced well with the amount of content. If the game is 20 or 30 hours, but like it feels like a slog, well, then obviously I'd want a shorter game. But maybe a 20 or 30 hour game is perfect for the kind of content it does, and I don't feel like I'm getting fatigued or burnt out from it. And so really the length of the game is kind of a non-concern for me at this point. It's just kind of something I have to play and vet out for myself. I will say, as of right now, there really aren't that many Metroid games where I was disappointed in the game's length. They've all felt just right for the most part.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I think there's going to be side content in this game, so that's going to obviously add in some hours. You know, and I'll preface what I'm about to say with like I think that quality should almost or should always rather be prioritized over like length of game and quantity. Let's just say, I think Pikmin 4 is like the perfect 20-hour game. Luigi's Mansion 3, the perfect 20-hour game. Now that being said, I feel like Silksong for me is like almost a game changer in that like this is a massive Metroidvania. Yes, this is 2D versus 3D, but like this game takes like 50 hours to beat. And you could make the argument that Silksong is too long, and I could hear that argument. But I do think that like we should have a decent amount of content to sink our teeth into with this game. Like I would be disappointed if this was the same length as like a standard Metroid Prime campaign. I think it should be longer, and I think it will be longer. Like I think these open areas are going to add a lot to what we're doing here. So yeah, I think that it should be. I mean, I think this game should be like a 20-hour game. I would say minimum. On your first playthrough, okay? Because, like, I mean, I did a 100% playthrough of Metroid Prime Remastered when it came out. It had been a little bit, and that took me like 10 hours. So I think, like, if you're double the gameplay of Metroid Prime, you're probably doing okay with 100%.
I think that's a bit different, though. I mean, it's a game that, like, we've replayed several times, even if it had been a little bit. So you still have a lot of that, a lot of the puzzle solutions, a lot of the boss weaknesses still kind of implanted. To me, like, I feel like Dread's kind of the better case. I feel like I can't remember how long my first playthrough is. I want to say it was between 11 and 14 hours for 100%, and then obviously nowadays I can beat the game in like less than 3 hours. But at least for me, I feel like that's like a pretty good like indicator of like what a first time Metroid experience can be. But again for me, like it all depends on like how the content is balanced out. So I don't really mind either way. But I also totally understand with what you're saying. It's like, we've waited 8 years for this game just since it was announced, let alone, how long we were waiting since, the Prime 3 cliffhanger cutscene. And so you want to be like rewarded with like, hey, you've been waiting for this amount of time. Here's this amount of content to kind of like give back to all that time that you waited. So I totally understand that point of view as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that there is kind of like some pushback now among people that they're very just like, well, it's about the quality versus the quantity, which is true. It's true, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with saying like this game should give you X amount of hours or experiences to sink your teeth into, and maybe that's also like replaying the game. Is done in a way where it's more than just like a difficulty upgrade to actually like Fire Emblem Three Houses is a great example of that. The campaign itself is probably only like 20 hours, but like there's all these different paths that you can take. So like you are incentivized to replay that game. So like if that's kind of the same thing, then like, yeah, sure. That's a great way to go about that too. So I don't think there's anything wrong with asking this game to deliver you with content for the price that we're going to be paying for it. Right. So there it is. Okay. Like I said, we left a few questions on the table, but we'll definitely try and get back to them at some point when we do another Q&A episode. I'm sure that there's probably one coming definitely before the game launches as well. So yeah, we'll put out the notice when we do that, but we got to as many as we could. So thank you everybody for submitting your questions, and yeah, hopefully you liked our answers. And man, you know what? It's going to be October by the time that, you know what, Doom? It will be my birthday actually when this releases. So there we go.
Happy birthday! You're an October 1st boy.
I am.
You're literally You're exactly 1 month after me. I didn't realize that.
Yep. So yeah. By the time you're listening to this, we are 2 months away from Metroid Prime 4. I had to fact check. Yeah, 2 months away from Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It seems incredible to think about. So, man, there it is. Okay, well, any final thoughts, Doom, before we get on out of here?
I will say it does. I feel like now, because like man, the community was just so up in flames when that trailer came out. I feel like now things are finally starting to calm down and more level-headed conversations are happening. Again, even from the people that aren't quite sold on the bike yet, like I've seen a lot less like absolutely egregious doomer posting, and so that's been really nice. And yeah, hopefully we can we can continue that theme going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like and I didn't mean to say like last week that like you shouldn't be just like willing and like, okay, like bike, great. You can definitely have your doubts about it and your skepticism, and I think that that's totally valid. But I do think that like there's a lot of interesting opportunities that people are maybe overlooking with this. So okay, there we go. We are going to get out of here. Thank you everybody for again submitting your questions. If you want to submit questions for us in future Q&A episodes, the best way to do that is to get in on our Discord. Come and talk about Metroid with us. Come and talk with Doom and me and the team, and we'd love to have you there and answer your questions on the show. So go to omegametroid.com. The invite link is right there. And while you're at omegametroid.com, you can check out the guides that we have, the maps that we have, the news that we're breaking, all the stuff that a Metroid fan could possibly want. We actually even have new video walkthroughs over on our YouTube channel for Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid Fusion. Just a new, different way to play those games. So go ahead and check those out. And yeah, while you're there, hey, go and give us a like, a subscription. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Recommend us to that Metroid fan in your life. Tell them that there are people out there that somehow, some way, do a weekly Metroid podcast. So show Omega some love. That would be much appreciated. Check us out over on Blue Sky. We are at Omega Metroid, at Spateri316, at Doominal Cross. And that, my friends, is going to do it for us. So, till next week, everybody. Take care.